bring it up on you.
It should
like
be going.
The actual link on YouTube.
There we go.
Bring it up on YouTube.
Sorry about that, guys. Looks like there's a couple of technical difficulties. YouTube showed that we were live on my end, but apparently it wasn't live on your end. So I do apologize for that, but
it's all right. We can start all over.
We can start over. The guys just got done qualifying. Tonight's race is at Dover International Raceway, sponsored by the Batflip Podcast group over there, as well as Belly Up Sports along this as well. Alan Kalehi is here with me. Gonna get that name right at some point.
Yeah, at some point. It's Kahali. It's okay.
And yeah, we were just going over a couple of things. We're looking at 150 laps here at Dover tonight. No quick repairs, as that's going to be the ongoing thing for tonight's series, or for the series in general. But we got 6 sets of tires as well too, which I think is going to be utilized quite a bit here at the track.
Yeah, sorry, getting a few issues settled there. But yeah, we were taking a look at practice, and these guys were talking about it in Discord. The main concern in this race is going to be the right rear tire. It fades away very, very quickly, and really the secret to winning this race is to keeping your car as stable as possible in those turns. When you're sliding those tires up and down the track, it just destroys that right rear tire. And basically, the more grip you lose in that right rear tire, the more it basically just pulls your car up the track and into the wall. So the guys who can do well in this race are going to be the ones that can keep their car from sliding in the turns. That's going to be the thing to look out for. And it should be a very interesting one, but a very slippery one. These guys were saying that the setup that's being used, it's like they're racing on ice, which we've been doing these broadcasts for several weeks now, and it seems like that pretty much gets brought up every single race we've done so far. Not just in this league, but in other races too. Every single time it seems to be like these guys are racing on ice. So should be a fun one, but a very slippery one.
Absolutely, and we're going to bring up the grid for tonight, sponsored by Batflip Podcast. So starting in row 1, we got Brian Mercurio, winner from Atlanta's race up front. Alongside him, Hank Steinmiller in that second spot. Row 2, Brian M. Smith and Damian Leininger, who's actually part of the Batflip Podcast. So huge sponsor from him and racing tonight. Row 3, Dylan Thomas and Kenny Lowry, both Stay Tuned Sports teammates there. Row 4, Joshua Adams and Christopher Morse.
Sorry there.
You got it?
I'll get going. Row 5, starting in 9th, we've got Timothy Latham in the 25 car. Starting to the outside of him is Justin Krasinski. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to go through this lineup. We're going to have to hurry. So row 6, we've got David Duke and Tyler Riggs. Row 7, Jacob Smith and Nick Massey. And in row 8, we have Gerald Campbell and Daniel Bodler.
Row 9, Joseph Causey and Thomas Rutherford. Row 10, Brandon Browning and Jack Roel. And then row number 10, we got Scott Crump and Chris Wright and Brad Herman and Chad Wilson there. And then the very last one, Greg Olenek. This track is very short, so trying to get through this is insanely quick with those short cautions. So we're under green flag now, and it looks like Brian is going to lead us into the first turn here.
Yeah, heck of a start by Brian.
Yeah, huge start by him. Smith behind him, Hank Steinmiller also there. Guys are going to get single file here real quick, and Brian just straight taking off so far off of this first lap.
Yeah, and apparently we've been talking about the 48 car of Nick Massey having connection issues in every race so far, and that is no exception here, as he is actually intentionally going to the rear of the field because of those connection issues. So an unfortunate start for Nick Massey.
Yeah, he's got a great presence here at the track, and I know Dover's a good track for him as well too. So I hate to see him, unfortunately, already having issues from the start. Hopefully throughout the night that can get resolved. But Christopher Morse here in the number 7 car in 9th place, got a little through a battle. Oh, we actually have a car in the wall there. Looks like Joseph Causey. Joshua Adams actually in the number 56 just happened the backstretch wall there, going to drop himself back all the way to 15th. Back up front, Brian Mercurio is still running with this one. Steinmiller about 3/10 off of him. Smith on the back door as well. And we also got Damian Leininger in this battle as well too. So these top 5 group pretty close together right now.
Yeah, seeing an early separation between the top 5 and the rest of the field. But one thing that is worth noting in this race is that we do have some driver changes. We do have Dean Brummett, who unfortunately has been diagnosed with COVID and is struggling with double pneumonia. So Timothy Latham is subbing for him. And Chris Morse is racing, but has not been feeling well, and he is racing, but doesn't expect to be competitive. So just a few driver notes there for this race.
Yeah, I hate to see Dean coming down with something so crazy as well too. I've been doing races with him since the beginning, honestly, since I've started broadcasting about 6 months ago. So hearing that, I hope the best for him, honestly. Hopefully he can get in and out and back on the track. But hopefully, Dean, if you're watching this, man, stay in there.
And Christopher Morse not doing too bad so far. He's currently in 7th place. So if this is his version of being non-competitive, man, he must be normally really fast, because he seems to be doing well so far in this race.
Absolutely. As we were talking about the Batflip podcast, the number 12 car, Damian Leininger, there is actually one of the hosts alongside Matt Akara, who focuses on MLB news, so straight up recaps and the biggest news around the league. You can check them out over at Batflip Podcast on Twitter. They do come out with every episode every week on Sunday nights, which is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So go ahead and give them a follow at Batflip Podcast and let him know we sent you. But he's doing really well here tonight, sitting in 4th place currently. Got a little battle with Dylan Thomas there. Hit the apron. It's going to loosen him up. The 3 is going to open that door. And now we have a battle down the backstretch.
And by the way, Christopher Morse did have 2 of the fastest 3 of the previous laps. So he's definitely very competitive right now, as he's closing in on the 3 cars in front of him, the 4th, 5th, and 6th place cars.
And surprisingly, 11 laps in, the guys are keeping it really clean. Again, Dover is one of those tracks that's just extremely fast on such a shorter track as well too, but the guys are doing well. Now, the number to look out for, talking amongst the drivers, and as soon as I say that... And you had
to say that, we have a caution.
Let's take a look. Maybe Nick Massey, I think, because he is kind of slow coming off of turn 3.
Nick Massey and the 11 of Jacob Smith, and there was one more car involved. It was the 83 of Greg Olenek. It looks like Olenek and the 11 are the 2 that started that caution, and Nick Massey was just an unfortunate victim in it.
Let's take a look here. We see the 11 car, Jacob Smith and Greg Olenek, and that green and white car battling here out of turn 4. Let's see, most of this action is going to probably take place off of turn 2.
It's going to happen coming off of 2.
2 is that treacherous area.
And the question is whether there was contact right there or not between the 2 cars. I'm guessing there was just a little bit, and yeah,
looks like there might have been contact with the 83. Let's see if we can get a different angle here.
Did we have fast repairs, or are there?
We do not have fast repairs for this race.
Oh wow! So we've yeah, the day's ended for a couple of guys here then.
So we're gonna see the 83 low here coming pretty slow off of 2. Gets a little loose. 11 might be. I don't know. That kind of looks like netcode a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If there was contact there, I think it was netcode, and yeah, just unfortunate there. Yeah, I think that was netcode, if anything, unless 11, unless the 11 just hit the wall as the car in front of him was getting loose, but that's not usually the case.
Let's take a ride on board here with Jacob Smith and see just how close he gets to the 83. Yeah.
I don't know. That's very close.
Very, very awkward little area there. I'm not sure. Might be a little bit of netcode on top of that. I know some of the guys have been complaining here the last week or so with netcode in different discords and leagues that I've been a part of. So
Yeah, not just leagues, but even in the official series, just netcode has been an issue with iRacing, especially lately. It didn't seem like we used to have as much as we currently do. So I don't know if the damage model is having an effect on that or what, but yeah, hopefully this netcode can be solved before too long.
and while we're under this caution, we'll go ahead and bring up the standings after the 130 from Atlanta. Brian Mercurio, who was your leader coming into Dover, is actually gained 10 whole spots from last race after that win. A huge gain because he wasn't even in the top 10 at all. And now he's found himself the points leader coming into race number 3 of 4. Jake Roel has not gained or lost any spots, sitting second with 78 points. Brian Smith gained himself 2 positions from last race, 73 points. Greg Olenek, unfortunately involved in that wreck, is in 4th, gained a spot at 64 points. Tate Lytle, who I don't know if I actually saw him in tonight's race. Yeah, Tate Lytle is actually not in tonight's race, so that's going to hurt him a lot in points, sitting in 5th. Dean Brummett, unfortunately, is sick currently, is in 6th spot, gained +6, so hopefully his fill-in tonight, which is going to be Timothy Latham, can hopefully hold it down there for him. Gerald Campbell in 7th, gained 6 spots. Kenny Lowry in 8th. Actually tied with Tyler Riggs in that spot. And then we have a 3-way tie for 10th with Daniel Baudler, Scott Crump, and Jacob Smith, all with 53 points. So the Stay Tuned Sports team, actually I think every member from the Stay Tuned Sports team is on there minus the 03 car.
And so as we transition back into the race, what's going to be interesting is the fact that the top 10 cars did not pit, and there is about a 2-second runoff we were finding out during practice between fresh tires and 15-lap-old tires. After that, it seems to kind of slow down with the tire wear. The times end up being pretty even, but you are about to see 11th on just bowl through this top 10. I can guarantee that, and it's going to be very interesting to see if these guys can keep it clean or not.
Yeah, surprising that some of these guys didn't come in, but when you in this, you have like the top 10 guys at the halfway mark are going to obviously battle it out for those points, those bonus points that they get, but we're only 16 laps in. I think it's probably safer to take the tires. You get 6 sets than to stay out, but we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the top 10 is betting on there being a lot of cautions, trying to save that extra set of tires, but it was a good start by these guys. 15 clean, or a little less than 15 green flag laps, and here we go as the green flag drops, and we've already got some position battles.
Yeah, Hank.
We've got an incident. 19.
Oh, Jake Roel back here.
Yeah, Jake Roel
looks like he
was kind of pinching down there a little bit in the turn and almost went around. He was able to save it though. Good job by him.
Let's take a look. Actually, I want to see what we got going on here. See if we can get a replay of this. Taking a look at the 19 car, Roel. He was all the way up in 2nd, comes into turn 1. Actually, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong car.
Yeah,
Roel's here. Like, what the heck is going on here? Looks like he pinches it in turn 1 and 2. Lost some spots there. Currently sitting in 14th, back up front. We do have a battle between Brian Smith and Hank Steinmiller. Be interesting to see how these guys can get it done on these older tires compared to the rest of the field.
Yeah, the farthest car on new tires is Brian Mercurio, currently in 6th position, but working his way up to 5th now. And you're going to see him back in the lead in just a couple laps here. I can almost guarantee you that.
Joseph Causey guy here got his hands full of the 6, the 56, and the 5 car. Back here battling Joshua Adams. does a crossover move on the 6 and goes down low on him and takes that spot away. He's trying to make his way up front now. Oh, Joseph Kazi. Oh, contact there with the 05 with Justin Krasinski and Joseph Kazi. Looks like they get away from that one unscathed. Damian looks like he lost a couple of spots, and Brian Mercurio in the 41 now coming back up to second after being 10th on that restart. So tires here taking a huge effect on these guys.
Yeah, but another car to keep your eye on is the one right behind him, Gerald Campbell. He also has those fresh tires. He's putting a lot of pressure on Mercurio, so these two guys are going to be battling for the lead here in just a few moments.
Absolutely. We'll look on Gerald Campbell here and see how he's doing his lap. 22.7 last time by. And you see the battle up front here with Mercurio going on the outside and just takes it away like it was nothing there. Kind of interesting to see that. He made it look easy.
Gerald Campbell almost made contact with Hank Steinmiller there, but luckily they were able to keep it clean. But now it's going to be interesting to see. So they're 3 wide back there. It looks like that's not going to be pretty going into the turn. But luckily they get it back down to 2 wide. But yeah, it's going to be. I'm really curious to see Brian Mercurio. He is obviously very fast here today.
Oh, contact with Joseph Kazi and Damian Leininger there. Again, and just like that, the 78 of Brian Smith spinning on the front stretch. What a great avoidance from everybody right there.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That is very, very fortunate, everybody behind him, to not get caught up in that. And that's where we were showing you. I mean, you just go around, and there's really just not a lot of room to avoid a car in front of you. But luckily, they were able to do it this time, and boy, big time avoidance there.
Absolutely. Caution number 2 currently out. Let's take a look at Brian Smith and see how he did it. Pretty impressive if you ask me. Do this from the blimp cam. See, he's all alone right now into turn 3 and 4. That's going to change here very soon. Might be a little checkup in front. No, the 22 of Kenny Lowry trying to go on the inside, just clips him. Nice little 360 across the line, and everybody just avoids that.
And that is the difference. That is the difference between the new tires and old tires. When you're in front of these guys with old tires, you just, you try your best to be clean around them, but your car isn't acting the same as theirs is. And so there's certain points in the track that are just unpredictable. Usually the corner entry is where you see the biggest difference, because the cars with the old tires do have to brake more. But that's interesting because that was exiting. So the car behind him was kind of able to get back on the throttle a little bit sooner, and I think he kind of underestimated how much Brian Smith was having to kind of feather the throttle coming out of the turn. And that's what happens, the new tires versus old.
And you see there, he just gets into the corner panel, but again, great avoidance from everybody as well too. That is definitely a tough one to get out of. So great to see nobody majorly involved in that. Not a whole lot of damage on the 78 of Brian Smith's car, so he should be just fine.
Yeah, and where he wrecked is one of the most difficult places to avoid a wreck too, because you're coming out of that turn, and it's kind of blind unless there's people calling out the wreck, and if the caution comes out, then you kind of know that you need to get off the throttle. But even when you do that, the people behind you, you don't know for sure that they're getting off the throttle. And so that makes it even tougher here at Dover. Even when you want to get on the brake or get off the throttle, you can't just slam on the brake because there's drivers behind you, and so it's so difficult. It's difficult enough keeping your car off the wall here, but also, trying not to spin, but also not trying to get caught up in a wreck. And it's not just the car that spins that you have to worry about, but it's the guys behind you too. So it just takes a lot of cooperation in order to keep your car clean here. And those guys definitely did a very good job of that there.
Absolutely, and the payout here for this series is actually pretty huge. So everyone's trying to gain as many positions as they can. This is the third out of 4 races. So Richmond's going to end it with us next week. And right now, $480 for the team with the most points. So you are looking at individual performance as well as a team performance, and you want to get as many of your guys up front to claim as many points as possible. So 480 that will be split amongst the team, and I do believe most of the guys here have about 4 on their team. So still hefty paycheck. $200 for the individual driver with the most points as well, and each winner from each race will get $20 on top of that as well. So again, you're not paying anything. I don't think they paid anything to get in. I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. Regardless, that's pretty good.
And looking back at Greg Olenek, he is continuing to try to get that damage repaired. His car is pretty bent up in both the front and the rear end. But, you know, he is up there in those standings, so he is trying to save as many positions as he can and also not go a lap down. So I think he's going to be working on that damage throughout this race.
And fast repairs, especially at Dover, are tough, and I know a lot of guys are talking about the set. The official set for iRacing does get pretty squirrely. 15, 20 laps in, you get about a 2-second drop off. I'm sure Alan has mentioned that earlier on. So that's pretty huge when you think about that. But after that, after the 20 lap mark, it starts to be more consistent, and so those tires start to get worn out. But the car still kind of wants to ice skate all over the place, and the troublesome area for most of the race is going to be about turn 2. I see most of the guys collecting the wall there, so we'll have to keep an eye under these 15 to 20 laps to see just how bad the tires get if we can keep it green.
Yeah, and one thing worth mentioning, everybody in the top 13 has only pit once, with the exception of Gerald Campbell, who has had to come onto pit road twice. Not sure if he did get tires both times, but that is one thing to keep your eye on. He might have the freshest tires.
And green flag in there. Brian Mercurio bringing the fill to turn 1. Joshua Adams in the 56 filling in for a driver, actually up to 3rd currently, battling with Kenny Lowry in the 22, as well as Joseph Causey in the 9. Joseph Causey, a little bit of a slide job on him in turns 3 and 4, but they're going to get it settled out. And man, these guys are all over the place here, the top 8.
Scott Crump is also having, looks like he's having some connection issues as well tonight. I know we usually bring up his name a lot, so that would be rather unfortunate for him if he ends up getting disconnected at some point.
Yeah, he's blinking quite a bit. Hopefully it's not going to affect, I'm not sure if it's just on my end or if it's in the actual race itself, so we'll have to keep an eye on him, currently sitting in 13th.
He's blinking like crazy for me too, so it's definitely not just us. It's there's definitely some issues with him.
Hank Steinmiller, looks like Joseph Causey dropped all the way back to 9th after he was up to 2nd. Not 100% sure what happened there, but he is dropping like a rock right now.
And Chris Wright did. Oh, we have a caution with several cars getting involved in turn 1, I believe.
Looks like Gerald Campbell there. I saw the smoke, and then I saw him just chilling up on the high side there.
And Gerald Campbell was involved in that, between him and the 22 of Kenny Lowry. So another unfortunate crash, this time going into the turn, in the opposite of what we saw in the last caution, which was coming out of the turn. And we did get confirmation from several drivers just now that Scott Crump is indeed having some serious blinking going on. So that's definitely having an effect on the drivers around him.
All right, so we're going to see the battle here with Kenny Lowry in the 22 and Gerald Campbell in the 48 going to turn 1. And again, oof, hits the exit of the pit wall there. Doesn't look so bad. Oh, the 6, threading the needle on the high side going into turn 1. But
yeah, I think Campbell is very fortunate. That's that car should be way more damaged than it actually is. So I think he might have escaped some serious damage there.
Right.
Don't know how, but he found a way.
On board with Kenny here.
He should not have a front end right now, the 48 of Gerald Campbell, but fortunately still does, and it looks pretty good actually. So definitely was very fortunate there.
I also think I saw Tyler Riggs back there doing a nice little save as well. Take a look at him. I just saw his car go completely sideways on that last onboard with Kenny. There were 26 cars, like a couple cars back here. You're going to see the guys battling up front. There goes the 48 around. And the 26 just Tokyo drifting in turns 1 and 2. What a nice save. So just like that, caution number 3 out. And I think the saying goes, cautions breed cautions. That's something you're going to hear quite a bit no matter where you go. 3 cautions in 35 laps?
And there is a disagreement in the voice chat as to who caused the caution. Gerald Campbell and the 22 of Kenny Lowry both saying that it was the other person's fault. So that's something that they'll have to kind of settle after the race.
Absolutely, or they might settle on the track. We'll have to keep an eye out.
Yeah, you never know.
Some of these guys, I mean, when you're racing for money and you have stuff like that happen, and especially, again, it's only a 4-race series. That's insane. Like, that's such a quick series that every race is going to matter. So when you have someone like Gerard who's actually in the standings, sitting in 7th, and he's not even out of it, getting spun, possibly battling for 2nd place, I mean, it's pretty huge.
Yeah, and you know, the more of these guys, I mean, it's a lot of money involved. I mean, not just the $20 for winning the race, but also the money at the end for winning the point standings. So, yeah, just a lot on the line for these guys. And you know, when you put as much time and effort into practicing and, you know, getting mentally prepared for these races, it's very frustrating when you have issues like this. So yeah, I mean, the more they go into this race, the deeper this race goes, the more frustrated you're going to see these drivers that get caught up in these incidents.
Gerald Campbell's part of the PRM group, who's actually sitting in 3rd in the team standings right now, only about 60 points behind 1st with the striker team that Dean Brummett is on. So yeah, every position is going to matter for him and his team. I think Tyler Riggs was part of that, so you saw him missing that caution. Joseph Causey is also in that group. He's sitting 14th, so most of the PRM guys are actually near the back of the pack, but the front of the pack, you can see it right here on screen. Stay Tuned Sports 1, 2, and 3.
And looking at Greg Olenek right now, he did have time to get some more damage repaired in the pits as he's coming around to get caught up with the field. But yeah, several drivers just with pretty bent up cars who are up there in the point standings. So it's been a very interesting one so far. But we saw that, you know, close to, I believe it was about a 13-lap run to start this race. But since then, we haven't gotten more than 5 green flag laps. So yeah, just gonna see if these guys can get together and get another long run going, or if it's gonna be like this for the rest of the race. Could go either way.
Absolutely, you never know what Dover is going to bring you. But we're about to go green here. Pace car coming off, and Mercurio getting another great start ahead of his teammates. Green flag in the air. And I'm sure his team is going to give him plenty of space here. Not going to really race too hard, I'm sure. That would be the smart thing to do. But back here we got a 6-way battle. Hank Steinmiller leading this small pack down here. The 7 of Christopher Morse. And then the 25 of Timothy Latham, who is covering for Dean Brummett, is in that mix as well. See Damian Leininger there in the 12 on the high side. That's a dangerous place to be, especially coming off a turn 2.
Yeah, again, you know, when it's not your normal line, you never know what that right rear tire is going to do coming out of these turns, and that's what these guys are trying to avoid. We talked about it at the start of the broadcast. You just don't want to slide that right rear tire, because the further worn that tire becomes, the more your car just gets pulled up the track, and that can really screw up your lap times, and it can cost you a lot of positions.
Absolutely. Brian's still doing a great job of running away, but Thomas is actually right there with him, and Steinmiller running the fastest lap a couple of laps back at a 22:108. Fastest on the track right now currently, and he's sitting in third.
Yeah, he's definitely putting together a very good run. Brian Mercurio, he looks like the two of Chad Wilson hit the wall coming off of the turn, but Mercurio currently holds a 7370 I rating, so he is way up there in terms of, you know, overall skill and competition. So he is definitely a guy that all of these guys are kind of aiming for, because, you know, when you see somebody with that really high I rating, man, it just makes you just that more determined to beat them on the track. So, you know, these guys are they definitely know who the standard is out here.
And you see Hank getting around the 03 of Dylan Thomas on the front stretch there. Got a hell of a run off of turn 4. Is going to try to make his way up to Brian Mercurio. Brian Mercurio trying to win the double here. Won at Atlanta last week, dominated the track, led the most laps.
Oh, we've got a car going around. It's the 12 car and another car involved. Yeah, several cars there, and caution does come out.
Ooh, going up the track. Oh, right in front of everybody. Oh, no.
Oh, my God. Oh,
and the 83.
Man.
Greg Olenek not getting to a stop in time is going to nail the back end. Damian there in the 12. And that's just something that you hear a lot. It's especially in the official races, we call them ARCA brakes.
Yeah, and you're definitely gonna want to take a look at Greg Olenek's in-car video, because that shows you just there's nowhere to go here at Dover, and this is what's so frustrating about this track. It is just, even when you're checking up, and you know, we were talking about this earlier, even when you're checking up, there's no guarantee that you're not gonna, you know, run into trouble as you're slowing down the car. And so that's exactly what happened with Greg Olenek. He started off in the middle of the track, and then he saw that there was trouble at the bottom, so he went up to the top and still got front end damage from that. So just very frustrating for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, it looked like, I don't know if it was just me, but it sounded like he pressed the clutch in, like the engine just cut. It was really weird, but Christopher Morris got into Damien a couple of times. Those guys get collected on the top end. It looks like Justin Krasinski is in that one as well, too, in that red and white car, and then just everyone piles in. Scott Crump makes it through fine. Gerald Campbell there in the 48, unfortunately, part of that one as well. I'm not sure how much damage he got off of that, but let's take a look with him here. You can see the caution happening right in front. Starts to slow it down, just gets a little sideways, and almost, oh, 2 near misses. Right there was Scott Crump.
If we had a sponsor for Move of the Race, that would be it right there.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Did a fantastic job avoiding that. He's in the pits currently, probably trying to get some of that damage repaired from the previous caution. But 46 laps in, Brian Smith up front there with Jake Roel in the 19 car. Scott Crump gaining a lot of positions up into third. Nick Massey, again, I don't know, it's weird. It's like the 2 blinkers up there in third and fourth.
And something else, Nick Massey, this is his 8th pit stop. So he doesn't have a ton of damage. He's got some rear end damage, but nothing too serious. I'm not sure why he's been in the pits so many times.
Maybe just topping off on fuel. I mean, it looks like he got fuel there. He does have some rear end damage quite a bit, but he didn't try to get it repaired.
It doesn't look that bad, so I don't know. I'm not really sure there. I'd be interested to see how many tire sets he has left. But yeah, you might be right. It might just be topping off each time just in case we do get a long green flag lap. I don't think we've mentioned it yet, but the fuel run, from what we've been told, is around 90 green flag laps. So theoretically, these guys who did come in should have enough to go the rest of the way.
Absolutely, and we're probably, I mean, 90 laps. That's
and
pretty.
I can't count. There's over 100 laps left. Never mind.
90 is a lot as well too at Dover, so getting in some green laps would be ideal here for a lot of these guys. Of course, Brian Mercurio in the 41 being one of those guys that wants to keep it green because he seems to be doing pretty well in the long runs when we do have him here. But yeah, 90 laps. I think these guys use 100% fuel load, so pretty impressive. At that point, you're looking at almost 2 pit stops a race for just fuel. But 6 sets of tires on top of that, which I think the tires here are definitely going to be the key when it comes to pit strategy.
Yeah, no question about that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much of a question. As the run goes on, the advantage typically, not all the time, but typically goes to the drivers with that higher I rating. They just have more experience saving tires. You know, they're used to the competition, you know, having to save those tires for the long run. There's typically less cautions as you go up an I rating. And so, you know, as these runs go on, the advantage, I would think, maybe not, but I would think would go to these guys with the higher I ratings. So, you know, Brian Mercurio with a 7370 I rating, Scott Crump with a 5048 I rating, Justin Krasinski with the 5680 I rating. And again, I rating isn't everything by any means, but it's definitely something that kind of supports that theory that, you know, these guys with the higher I rating would be able to save more tires just from experience alone.
Absolutely, and the 2 striker teammates up front, Jake Roel and Brian Smith, leading the pack here, while the 2 Stay Tuned Sports cars in the 3rd and 4th position, Brian Mercurio and Scott Crump trying to track them down. Striker is in the lead here for standings, so they are going to do their best to maintain that position there. And Scott Crump looking like he got a little too high coming into turn 3 and 4, is going to lose about 4 spots here now going into turn 1. Teammates are going to take that spot over, so Scott Crump slowly dropping back into 8th from 3rd. And now, of course, Brian Mercurio dominating here at Dover so far. Going to get around Jake Roel like it's nothing. Timothy Latham in the 25 there in the American scheme, I guess. The Apollo scheme, it looks like. Going to be following in suit with him. So guys, still getting a little racy.
Yeah, this was by far the best restart of the race so far. These guys pretty much instantly went into single file. A few position battles now, but definitely the cleanest restart thus far.
You can see a battle here with the 03 Dylan Thomas, and now Kenny Lowry getting below Jake Roel, but Dylan Thomas also blinking just a little bit, as well as connection issues seem to be dominant here at Dover. Now 3 drivers blinking pretty much the whole night. So hopefully that's not going to cause any issues.
Yeah, Dover's tough enough as it is, but when you've got cars that are just coming and going like this, man, it just makes it even tougher. The last thing that you can afford to do is take your mind off the track itself.
Yeah, give you an idea. Put yourself in Tyler Riggs' shoes right now. You see Scott Crump there in the 51 blinking nonstop, and who's in front of him? A car, just 2 cars ahead. That is the 19 car Jake Roel. So imagine trying to follow somebody, but you see him 1 second, and the next second they're gone.
Exactly.
Classic Houdini. Back up front, Brian Mercurio is taking away the lead from Steinmiller in the 63, and Timothy Latham in the 25 filling in for Dean Brummett, securing that second place spot. Steinmiller now in 3rd, and his teammate Jake Roel all the way back in 8th. So not a good run so far. Looks like he's going to be dropping back a little further here too as we're going into the later runs. Looks like, how many people pitted on that last restart?
It looks like everybody but 2 drivers have pit more than once. Brian Smith in the 78 and Jake Roel in the 19 car have only pit once, so they are definitely on older tires right now. And pretty much everybody else, it appears, has fresher tires. Again, based on our data that we're seeing, we can't see exactly when they did get new tires. We can only see how many times they have pit and what their current stint is since their last pit. But the top 5 all did come into pit that last caution.
Yeah, and based off the stint, Brian Smith looks like he's on 30 laps of tires right now. in that 6th place position, but it doesn't really seem to be messing with him too much. I mean, he's in the top 10. I think Joshua Adams is most likely going to catch him here, but I think he's thinking more of the long run, like at the end of the race when it's going to matter the most, to maybe let everybody else go through the tires, and then he can utilize the set he has and then bring it back to the front. I mean, he's been up front pretty much the whole race here alongside Brian Mercurio and Hank Steinmiller, so I don't think he's too worried.
Yeah, and we were talking about it at the start of the race. I don't think it actually made it live because we were having those issues at the start. But lap 15 is kind of the cutoff mark between the new tires really making a difference. Once they're 15 laps old, they really do kind of start to even out. So these guys who did come into pit are nearing that now. When they cross the finish line, they will be on 15-lap old tires. And so that's when you're going to see them kind of start to even out with Brian Smith. The Joshua Adams in the 56, who is currently in 6th place, his last lap was a 23.5. Brian Smith's last lap was a 24.0. So there definitely is a difference right now with the new tires versus old. But as this run goes on, you're going to see that become, you're going to see the difference become less and less.
Absolutely, and we got a battle up here for 2nd. Steinmiller taking that spot away from the 25, Timothy Latham, and that's going to give Dylan Thomas in the 03 a chance, but Latham is going to take that spot back, coming off of 4 across the line, and it looks like the 03 is going to drive it into the low side on turn 1, going to give his teammate Kenny Lowry some opportunity to catch up as well, too. And then it looks like Steinmiller in the 63 is possibly going to lose 2 spots here coming across into turn 3 and 4.
Look who is completely checked out. Brian Mercurio. He is the fastest car on the track, and it's really not even that close. His last lap at 23.298. Everybody else, Hank Steinmiller did put together a good lap there too at 24.3. After that, it's a 23.5. Or excuse me. So Steinmiller did not have a good previous lap, but yeah, Mercurio is the fastest car on the track by about 0.3. So very impressive job by him right now. He is just checking out.
See, he is getting there past Greg Olenek, unfortunately having a really rough night, involved in multiple accidents in Dover. Just trying to hold on and to salvage some of that points that he can gain for his team there. But back here, 2nd through 5th, huge battle going on, especially with Latham and Lowry there in the 25 and 22. And then we got Steinmiller looking on the low side of the 25 of Latham. Going to try to get that done on the backstretch. Most likely not going to get there. Latham is going to close the door on him. Wonder if Thomas has enough to catch his teammate.
Yeah, he's running, now that he's kind of cleared the cars around him, he is running better lap times now, about 0.5 tenth slower than Brian that last lap. So he is running pretty similar lap times, but still, it's a 3-second gap, and it is still increasing as we are running these green flag laps. It is good to see a green flag run, though.
Absolutely, and we're going to be in that realm now. We're 21 laps in on this last stint for the top 5 drivers, so this is where it's going to start. You can see he's fighting the wheel there, coming off of turn 2. This is where you're going to start seeing the tire wear really play a factor, and these cars are going to start to get a little slidey coming off of 2 and 4.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to see how well of a job these guys did in keeping that right rear tire from sliding. The ones who were able to avoid it and keep the car straight in the turns are going to be able to handle their car pretty good right now. But those who were sliding all over the place, it's only going to get worse as the run goes on. You don't want that tire to be so much more worn than the rest of your tires, because it basically just pulls the rear end of your car up. And so we're really going to see more and more cars do that as this run goes on.
Basically, looking around, it seems to be the only real battle going on here is going to be for that 4th position that Timothy Latham has. Him and Hank have pretty much been going at it these last few laps, trying to, playing cat and mouse. Hank starts to get it, gets around him, and then Latham just comes right back and just takes it right away. But Everywhere else, everyone seems to be pretty much spaced out quite a bit, even all the way back to like 13th, 15th
And as you were
as well
saying that,
too.
the 63 of Hank Steinmiller almost lost it coming out of the turn, but luckily was
Ooh,
able to hang on to it.
and the 25 of Latham, same thing off of turn 4 there, almost gets completely sideways. So as you can see, it's almost like figure skating, but you have way too much horsepower and not enough room.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we were seeing these guys struggle enough last week, but on these concrete tracks at Dover and Bristol, I mean, it's very slippery, and that's just how the concrete surface is. You don't have all those marbles and rocks to really let the tires grip the track, and so it just causes a lot of sliding, and that's what we're seeing here. By the
One
way, the halfway mark is coming up. As those points are going to be, definitely valuable, as we get towards the end of the season.
One guy just hanging out up here a whole 3, almost 4 seconds from second place. Just Brian Mercurio in the 41, getting it done at Dover. As long as he can stay out of trouble, he's pretty much making this track like it was at Atlanta, making it look easy. Dylan Thomas sitting back here trying to get around lap traffic. Looks like that's the 9 of Joseph Causey. Unfortunately, 2 races in a row with problems. Atlanta was not nice to him, and Joseph was doing really well at Dega as well too. So he's just trying to hang in there and grab some points as well. He's currently scored 2 laps down.
Yeah, and Brian currently the only car recording times below 24 seconds. So he is by far the fastest car on the track. Timothy Latham did put together a nice lap time there at 24.092. So he does still have a little bit of competition, but we were wondering if his teammate Dylan Thomas was going to be able to keep up with him. That answer is right now is a no. He is about 4/10 slower than Brian currently.
You see both these drivers here, Stein Miller in the 63 and Timothy Latham in the 25, getting around some more lap traffic as well. So lap traffic is going to start becoming a key here, but surprisingly, everyone's holding it together really well, even in the long runs. I mean, they're definitely a lot slower as far as your lap times go, but other than that, everyone's spaced out a lot. Not a whole lot of drama going on the track at all. Everyone's just kind of minding their business and hanging in there. Be curious to see how this is if we continue to stay green in the next 30, 40 laps, how pit stops are going to go.
Yeah, definitely. And that fuel window is open. I think, most of these guys, you're going to see them probably try to split up the run. So around lap 100, 110, I think is when you're going to see most of these guys come in as the caution is out.
The Thomas Rufflerford around on the entrance to turn 3. So that might be where it's at.
Yeah, just a solo spin there.
But look here and see what happened as we're talking about tire wear. Coming on the backstretch, hits the inside wall, gets loose off of turn 2. Luckily, nobody around him. You see the leader coming across him now. And yeah, just a solo spin on the backstretch. Everyone's so spaced out that it's not too dramatic now.
Yeah, and I think most of these guys are more than okay with that caution happening.
We're definitely going to come in for some tires, and we're going to see some action. But right off of 2, that rear end, just the air in that rear end off of 2, there's almost like a little hump off of 2 and into coming off that turn there. When you have old tires on top of that and you're not trying to eat the outside wall, sometimes that car just frees up, and as you can see there, spins the 4 car around of Thomas Rufflerford, and yeah, unfortunately, not a whole lot of damage off of that, so hopefully he can get it repaired and back out there.
Yeah, it is kind of strange because even though there is a pretty good amount of banking on the straightaways, 9 degrees of banking on the straightaways versus 24 degrees of banking in the turns, you're right. There is a kind of rough transition between the turns and those straightaways, and so yeah, it's very easy to get loose, and that just makes an already difficult track even tougher.
You're seeing everybody coming down pit road. I don't think a single person didn't come down pit row. And Brian's going to win the battle off of that, but it looks like Brad Herman there in the 85. He's definitely going to be coming down. I'm surprised he's not scored a lap down. The amount of damage he has.
Thought we were going to see Joseph Causey and Thomas Rutherford take a chance on getting a wave around, but they have thought better of it and have decided to come in for those tires. And that's just how important tires are. I mean, even if you come in and get that wave around, or excuse me, that's counterproductive. Even if you stay out and get that wave around, you still, I mean, when you're 2 seconds slower per lap, and a typical lap is 22 to 23 seconds, you're going to get lapped within 11 or 12 laps. So, you know, that wave around, even though it might pay off for you in the short run, all it takes is not even a long run, just like a couple of green flag laps to be in danger of going another lap down. But in addition, having those old tires, which can just send you, if the run keeps on going, 2, maybe even 3 laps down from there. So you can just things can quickly spiral out of control for you if you take that gamble and it doesn't work out.
Absolutely, and a lot of those guys, I mean, we only have about 16 cars on the lead lap. I think Brad still in pits. He's probably trying to get that damage repaired. He's currently on the lead lap. If he doesn't get out there soon enough, though, he will be a lap down as we're coming out of 4. But guys like Gerald Campbell, who've been up front the last couple of races, Joseph Causey, those guys all a lap down now. Gerard being 22 laps down, involved in 2 different incidents. I mean, it's tough. 22 laps is going to be rough to come off of, but he's been sitting in the pits for about 10 minutes on top of that. So he's definitely got some damage to that car, and when you have no fast repairs, it's tough. It's like a love-hate relationship is how I see it. Because you don't want to give too many fast repairs, because then guys just get careless and just send it. But then when you have no fast repairs, you really have to leave it up to the driver to not make mistakes. And unfortunately, some guys may feel, oh, well, let's place blame on this guy or place blame on that guy. And sometimes they don't, take it on themselves. So it does get kind of hairy when you get into a situation like that, especially when money's involved. But no fast repairs here, so a lot of those guys are just kind of holding on to what they have.
And as you were saying that, unfortunately, Scott Crump's frustration continues as he's been given an end of longest line penalty by race control because of those connection issues. So man, it's a helpless feeling when you're in that car and you want to fix your issues, but at the same time, how? You're driving the car. You can't sit there and reset your connection or anything like that. So it's just kind of a helpless feeling when you're having those issues.
Hopefully he doesn't get black flags. I think he was trying to check up and let Brad Herman get around him, and he didn't when the green flag dropped. So hopefully Scott doesn't get a black flag for that. Or sorry, not Scott, Brad doesn't get a black flag for that one. But so far everything is looking good. Brian Mercurio still up front, Dylan Thomas second to right behind him, and Hank Steinmiller in the 63. These guys have been extremely racy even in the longer runs, but we've got fresher tires here, 84 laps in, and we're going to start seeing some moves, I'm sure.
Dylan Thomas had a nice run coming off of turn 4 there, and it's going to be interesting to see if these guys behind Mercurio can just do anything different. I'm trying to look at what Brian is doing to separate himself from the rest of the field, and there's not a whole lot to it. He's consistent in the turns. He's not coming close to hitting the wall. He's just running clean laps, and I think that I think he is letting off a little bit more going into the turns, because I am seeing Dylan Thomas kind of get up to him early on, but then Brian is able to kind of get more of a run coming out of the turns. And so, that in addition to just being easy on those tires is what's really just, really dividing him from the rest of this field.
Yeah, it's someone that's taking it kind of hot coming out of 4. Timothy Latham there in the 25. You saw him get just a little bit sideways out of turn 4. Got that straightened back up. But yeah, right rear is just as important as the right front. Without that right front, you can't churn it, but when that right rear is gone, it's going to get even more slidey around this track. So something you don't really see utilized a whole lot is the right rear in most tracks. And that's what makes Dover so interesting, is that it's not just the right front, but that right rear you got to really take. Sorry, my mic just cut out there. That was weird.
I was wondering if you were going to finish your thought there.
Got to take care of it.
But yeah, the more I'm looking at Brian, I think what he's doing is he's getting into the turn very low. He's letting the car come up just a little bit, not even into the second lane, but about halfway, about right in between that first and second lane. And I think that's and what that's doing is that's allowing him, that's slowing down his car to where he could come out of the turns a little bit lower as well, while also being able to stay on the throttle. I think that's what we're seeing him do. Just kind of keeping a mental note for the next time I'm at Dover, because he is just running a great race right now.
Yeah, you can see Dylan Thomas here finally able to battle his teammate Brian Mercurio in the 41, staying right near that bumper, but Hank Steinmiller in the 63 doing the same thing to Thomas. That last lap, I'm not sure if you caught it, but the 40 or 84, I do believe Olenek, I saw Olenek, 83, sorry, of Olenek was stopped on the backstretch, and then he got towed back to the pits. So more damage issues for that 83 car, unfortunately. He's going to have a long haul back to the pits.
Yeah, and so far this top three, Thomas and Steinmiller, they've done a nice job of keeping up with Brian. Looks like he's distancing himself just a little bit here. So this is where I think we're going to start to see that line he's taking start to pay off, as he is so consistent in the turns. That is impressive.
See the 63 there trying to get something going, just can't really quite figure out what he wants to do. And it just seems like you could tell like how insane the long runs get and how big the gaps are getting in between each car too. So the short run seems to be the raciest here, and that's going to be interesting to see near the end of the race if we continue to have any sort of cautions or anything, how that's going to play strategy-wise amongst some of these guys. But Mercurio has just been on it, both the short and long run, so trying to find someone who's going to match that tempo is going to be interesting.
I'll tell you what, he left the door open just a little bit. That last turn, he went a little wide, but unfortunately for Dylan Thomas, he got loose coming out of the turn, and so really that distance kind of stayed where it was, because if not, I think that we would see Dylan Thomas right on his rear bumper right now if he hadn't gotten loose there.
Run on board with Brian Smith here was one of the guys that waited the longest to take a pit stop. He's only 2 pit stops in compared to everybody else who's at least 3 or more. But he's being battled by both Timothy Latham and Kenny Lowry here in the 22. You see Kenny getting right up to that quarter panel up into turn 1 and 2. Kenny's got to be careful. Unfortunately, he has T-boned a couple of guys. Not sure if it's by his fault or not, but based off the replays, he definitely does get a little aggressive on that quarter panel. So hopefully he can keep it clean here with Smith and get around him for that 4th place position.
Caution just came out.
Tyler Riggs is slow on the front stretch as well too. Might have another self-spin here. Let's take a look. '26 car on the backstretch going into turn 3 and 4. Looks like he does actually get pretty loose coming off of 4. It's going to send him to the inside wall on the front stretch right there. It's going to nail that inside wall.
Yeah, not a whole lot to that one, but slowed down just enough to where it did trigger that caution. But that's one of those cautions that are they're kind of rare. It's really kind of unique to Dover because at most tracks, when you hit that inside wall, you're down on the apron. So, sometimes it won't trigger that caution, but here at Dover, there's hardly an apron. I mean, it's basically half a lane of apron. And so it just when you're that close to the racing groove, it definitely doesn't take chances and it triggers that caution.
Absolutely, and I'm actually going to bring Damien up here in the booth, who is part of the Bat Flip podcast. Unfortunately, it looks like his night is over with. Damien, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you? How are you guys?
So far, so good. The race has been interesting. Unfortunately, you got caught into some early racing drama there. You were doing really well up in the top 5, stayed up front, and unfortunately, the night ended a lot quicker than you were hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, I set myself back on that when I was in 5th. I missed a shift, so I got stuck in 2nd, and I ended up going back to 10th. And then just the car was a handful. I mean, they're super loose all the way through the corner, so you're just trying to hold on. And I don't know what the 7. I mean, I don't know if he just rolled the corner better than I did, or if I checked up, or what. But he ended up getting me into the apron, and then all chaos ensued.
Absolutely. It was a huge pile up there. We saw Olenek in the 83 just nowhere to go and just kind of just ARCA braked you a little bit there and just nailed you in the back, and that definitely did not help the situation at all.
The brakes in these are so fine, and Dover's such a tricky track anyways. The brakes aren't really the best anyways. I mean, even if he would have got on the brakes, he probably would have locked it up and spun out anyways. And it's just so fine with these cars and the brakes anyways.
But
Damien, it did seem like during that longer run that you guys were kind of able to keep it fairly safe as the run went on. Is that more of the field just trying to be careful around each other, or are the tires kind of settling after a little while?
I think it really depends on how you drive it. That first run, I think we got like 12 or 13 laps in. By that 12th lap, I was wrecking every time I went into the corner. I mean, I was completely sideways each time, but I kind of abused the tires. So I started letting off a little bit earlier and just trying to let it roll a little bit more. And it seems like on the longer, those 15 to 20 lap or whatever, how many ever we got, the car seemed to have a little bit more pace in it and wasn't wrecking as bad.
So it's actually doing better on the longer run after about lap 15 than in the short stint of 15 then, correct?
Yeah, if you really abuse them, you're getting a lot of heat in the tires. I mean, here it's such a high pace track anyways. Carry a lot of throttle through the corner and just speed anyways. So if you can keep them tires cooled down as much as possible, then on the long run you're for sure going to be better.
Well, you are a racer and you are sponsoring tonight's race. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about your podcast, the Bat Flip?
Yeah, it's just a baseball podcast that Mike and from Belly Up and me and him had talked a couple times, and they were missing a baseball podcast. And I got with my buddy Matt that I've met actually from online racing, and we kind of just felt that this was our time, and then Mike gave us the opportunity, and just follow everything MLB and just how the teams have been doing, and basically just a big hole that Belly Up Sports was missing for baseball. So pretty glad that we can get this thing started and hope to continue it for a while.
I would ask you, as a Mets fan, I would ask you what's wrong with the Mets, but that might take all night, so I'm just not going to ask.
Hey, you got Uncle Steve now.
Very true, very true. As long as the Wilpons are gone, that's what I care about.
As long as it's not like 10 to 15 more years and they're trying to hold on to control like it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, as a Dodger fan, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, we appreciate you coming up here and talking to us a little bit about the car. And unfortunately, of course, being out of the race, it's not fun. You get to watch from the sideline. But Richmond next week, so hopefully you can bounce back from that and give us a strong finish.
Yeah, hopefully Richmond's one of my best tracks ever. Like it a lot. But anytime you guys want to do something like this, I'm always open.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Damien. Have a good rest of your night, man.
All right, you guys.
All right, so unfortunately on the 12, Damien there get into some craziness later on. Pretty big pile up early on. But back up front here, everybody getting back into the racing scene. Brian Mercurio bringing it to the green flag. And, of course, just kind of the same top 4 guys here. Mercurio, Steinmiller, Thomas, and Smith pretty much up front the majority of the night. But now Smith being battled by the 25. Timothy Latham there. It's going to try and take this one. But he's going to get a lot of momentum off of turn 2 on that high side to keep it. Scott Crump in the 51 actually finally making his way back up front. I haven't really noticed if he's been blinking any more or any less, but 7th place right now after getting an EOL is pretty impressive.
Yeah, so far so good since his last restart. I haven't seen him blink at all, so really for the first time tonight, he's actually able to sit there and focus on racing and not have to have people constantly hounding him for his connection issues. So that's good to see. We'll see if he can be a factor here at the end.
And earlier on when we were talking about the payouts, I said to myself, I don't think these guys paid anything to get in, but I was actually mistaken. It was a $30 buy-in in order to get these races underway. So that's where a lot of that prize is coming from, is from the drivers themselves. And when you have over 25, 26 guys, I mean, that pool fills up pretty quick. On top of that, you got your sponsors. So $30 is actually pretty fair for what you're going to come out as a winner if you make it to the top.
Yeah. Sorry, got a cat behind me scared me. But yeah, I mean, none of these guys are doing this professionally. They're doing it as a hobby, but at the same time, yeah, when there is that little bit of money involved, you love the thought of, being able to do a little something with your prize money and, sitting here having fun and, racing these cars, paying off at the end. So definitely a lot on the line, both the little bit of money and the bragging rights.
Absolutely, and Scott Crump continuing to make it up to the front there, now sitting in 6th. His teammate Kenny Lowry in the 22, working on Jake Roel in the 19, trying to get around him. Another guy we haven't really talked much about, Justin Kernetsky there in the 05 car, the Puck Pass. Ooh, getting a heavy battle between the 6 car and him, Daniel Baldler there. And Joshua Adams is in that mix as well. And those guys are getting nice and close going into turn 1.
While you're saying that, Hank Steinmiller in 2nd place. He was able to pass Dylan Thomas, but he is desperately trying to stay up there with Brian Mercurio, but he has been loose the last several laps, and that is going to really start to hurt his tires as this run goes on.
So Dylan's just going to try and keep it nice and steady to get around Steinmiller. Hopefully Steinmiller can keep it out of the wall. Oh, and just as I say that, he gets loose out of 2, but makes a hell of a save there. That's going to push the 03 car to the high side, try to gain that momentum coming off the turn. Oh, and the 3 almost nails that wall coming out of 4.
And Brian is just looking at his rearview mirror and saying, "You boys keep on doing that. I'll just keep on pulling away and hope that we don't get another caution here."
And that's a fantastic save from Steinmiller. These cars are not easy to save. They are so snappy. So when you see a guy get completely sideways like that and just keep it out of everything, it's impressive to say the least. And he still keeps his spot open to 3rd. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's so easy to overcorrect with these cars and just, you try your best to keep your position, but man, all it takes is just a little bit of an overcorrect for your car to just go around the opposite way of where you were originally going to spin. Man, Hank Steinmiller is
he just nailed that wall.
Continuing to flirt with that wall.
Yeah,
he's really struggling with that race car right now.
Yeah, and once those tires start to heat up as well too, I mean, your grip levels are just in the crapper. So you kind of have to settle it down just a little bit. If you continue to over race it, it's that car's not going to be happy. So hopefully he can keep it under control.
Yeah, and Dylan Thomas is struggling with his car too. He's not getting loose out of the turns. He's getting loose in corner entry and the middle of the turns. So even he is struggling with his tires right now, and boy, Brian just continues to pull away. He's the fastest car by a good 2/10 right now.
You can see Brian up there in the orange Stay Tuned sports car. Big old gap between him and his teammate Dylan Thomas there. And as these guys continue to try to hold their cars together, he's just kind of sipping on some wine and eating some popcorn and just kind of relaxing. Nice and open for him. Nothing too crazy going on. And I mean, honestly, nothing too crazy has been happening to him at all.
Yeah, and we're going to have a battle for second place here. Hank Steinmiller trying to get that position back. He was in there just a few laps to go. We'll see if these guys can keep it clean coming out of the turn. Oh, he gets
Oh, God, he's
loose.
getting so
Dylan
loose.
Thomas almost went around there, able to hang on to it. But, man, these guys are really using up their tires when they're doing that.
Oh,
And,
and just
there
like
goes
that,
Hank.
yeah, Steinmiller right there. You saw just that dirty air behind him causing him to just get loose coming out, and he's going to get loose in the middle of the turn again just a little bit. And now the 78 of Brian Smith's going to be able to catch up to him, but is he going to be able to get around him cleanly as Steinmiller's putting the block on him? And 22 of Kenny Lowry is actually going to take advantage of that block from Steinmiller on Smith there and take that position away, as well as Scott Crump now in this mix up front in this little six-way battle. Yes,
Man, just
getting crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the battle for second is you'd love to have what they, not really a term used in NASCAR, but a podium finish. That's always important to have, but man, the battle for the lead is just non-existent right now as these guys keep on using up those tires. I mean, it is just, the distance is just huge now, almost 4 seconds, and we really haven't even been green for that long. That just shows you how much these guys have used up their tires early on in this run.
And we're about at that level now where the tire wear is playing a factor. But like Damian was saying, I was actually kind of surprised where he was saying that the cars kind of like leveled themselves out in the longer run once you get past, Kenny Lowry. Just as I'm talking about tires, gets really loose on the backstretch there. He's lost almost 2 spots. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to hear that the car actually does a little bit better tire-wise in the longer run, especially after about 20 laps in.
Yeah, and I think that's just how slow they become. 20 laps in, there's so much less grip than what you start off with that you kind of can't help but go so slow that the car is kind of able to settle itself. You're not abusing the throttle as much coming out of those turns, and in response, you're able to kind of keep the car under control a little bit better.
Yeah, it's almost like, and we see a battle here for Smith and Steinmiller. Smith taking that position away. It's actually still side by side going into 3, and caution's out. And I think I saw, Brandon Browning there in the 48, really slow. Again, this is almost like a common theme we saw. I don't think it was was it at Atlanta? Oh, no, maybe it was the IROC series we were doing. The front ends of these cars just disappearing. Seems to be kind of the common theme of this here. Let's take a look, see what happened to Brandon here.
Oh, he struggled coming out of turn 4, and man, a pretty big wreck there, as you're going to see in just a moment.
Who is that? The 85 of Brad Herman? Yeah, it is. Brad Herman, a car that's a lap down, just battling really hard with Brandon in the 48 car there.
Yeah, in his defense, though, Browning was really struggling with it. He was really spending that entire straightaway trying to keep that car under control. It was just kind of swerving back and forth in doing so, and just wasn't really anywhere for him to go. Yeah, you see right there. I mean,
like
he slowed way down right in front of him.
And unfortunately, Brad has nowhere to go there, so a little loose again. Common theme here coming off the corners. And that's going to cost Brandon a position there all the way down to the 16th. Might actually get lapped as well, too. But we're going to have everybody coming to pit road once again. And this is where it's going to get very interesting. Almost 20 laps to go, and that's about the window that the tires start to fall off. So we're going to see a lot of quick racing here in these last couple of laps.
Yeah, and really, I think the even more important than the race for the lead is going to be the race for second, because Dylan Thomas, I believe you said that Thomas and Mercurio are teammates. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so you know that Thomas is going to race him clean. He's not going to make an aggressive move. But will we see that from Brian Smith or Hank Steinmiller? Will they put an early run on in this, once they go green and try to make that move on Brian? It might be their only chance to win this race.
And the thing that's even crazier is even up front, we're looking at Brian McCurry on the 41, Dylan Thomas in the 03, then we got Kenny Lowry in the 22, and Scott Crump all within the top 6, which is going to be huge points-wise for the Stay Tuned Sports team. I mean, they're only about 30-ish points behind the striker team, which is made up of Dean Brummett, Jake Roel, Jacob Smith, and Brian Smith. So seeing Brian Smith up there, the only guy from striker in that top 10 currently. Actually, sorry, Jake Roel is up there as well in the 10th spot. So 2 striker teammates in the top 10, but you got your Stay Tuned Sports team actually doing pretty well as it lays currently.
Yeah, I don't think a team can really ask for a better race than what's going on now. Now, obviously, it's not over yet, so they still have to survive up till the end of this race. But man, that is a really impressive run for one team with 4 cars being able to be in the top 6. So yeah, definitely an impressive run by them. We'll see if they can finish it.
And another person, just like we were talking about, Justin Kranitzky, I think he was actually out of the Atlanta race. I think he was filled in by Joshua Adams, who's actually still racing tonight. So who was Joshua filling in for again? The 56 of Adams? Because I didn't know that team lost another driver.
The only sub that I know of is Timothy Latham for Dean Brummett. That's the only one that I'm aware of.
Surprised Adams is running in this, and if he is running, what team is he a part of? Interesting. A lot of unanswered questions here at Dover. I'll have to check up on that and see what's going on. Because most of these teams are all
if he pays the buy-in, you know.
Hey, yeah, if he paid the buy-in, I mean, he's running like a solo team, I guess, which I probably wouldn't do anyways. Could you imagine running a solo team and something like this?
Definitely gives you a little bit of a disadvantage there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we got the pace cars going to be coming off this time around. That these guys are going to open it up. Is that the 48 I see up front?
I don't see a 48.
I see the 48.
Oh, you're talking about Massey. Yeah, 7th place currently.
Wow. The connection issues not bogging him down up there in the top 10. Nice to see that. And wow, Steinmiller. Oh my God, Steinmiller and Lowry get into each other. I don't know how Lowry did not spin. That looked like a heavy hit right there. But we have a huge battle going on back here with Scott Crump, Steinmiller, Nick Massey in this one. Justin in the 05. I mean, a big battle going on here as Hank is still on that back bumper of the 22 of Lowry. Man, he is almost pushing him at this point. And they get into it.
There it is.
It was just a matter of time.
Oh my goodness. The 56 of Josh Adams is taking a barrel roll of a ride. You saw that one coming from a mile away. You were talking, I was ready to say there's about to be a caution, and about 2 seconds later, we see this. Just, a rough one for a lot of them there.
Steinmiller getting really racy, maybe a little too racy. I'm not sure. I mean, they had contact with Lowry a little bit after the restart there that pushed him up the field. But let's kind of see how all this unwind. Wow, sorry, English. Let's go. I actually want to go back to the restart where it started here, because this is where it gets kind of interesting between him and Lowry. So right after the restart, they door each other, which is going to send him up the track. Then Lowry comes up the track, which cuts off the nose of Steinmiller there, and then all hell just breaks loose from here on out. This guy's getting extremely racy. I'm actually going to take us to the blimp view so we can cover most of this. But you see the 63 really giving the bumper to the 22 of Lowry, putting him in a really weird spot, and then the 6 just gets a big run, but I don't know what really happened there. 63 just kind of takes him.
I think netcode might have sent him up the track there. You saw it, them get in. Sorry, you saw them make contact there, and it kind of started getting him around. But there might have been some netcode there. I know that everybody wants to blame netcode, but I think that might have been the case there between the 6 and the 63.
Let's right on board with the 26 because he's the one that actually got into Joshua Adams and took him for the ride of his life. You see Joshua Adams in the Lowe's car and the 56 on the low side there. And Tyler Rick's kind of in a good position, but then it just closes up really fast. And just like that gives Joshua Adams a huge shove. And that's going to put him over Kenny Lowry's 22 and just goes for a spin.
And on my own screen, I'm taking a look at the replay for myself, and there was a little bit of netcode between the 6 and the 63, but he had enough momentum going up the track to where even without the netcode, they were going to make contact there. So definitely can't blame netcode for that incident.
Yeah, actually, let's just take an on-ride of Joshua Adams. Hopefully you don't get queasy because this is going to be pretty intense.
It wasn't that bad at first, and then bam, just gets nailed on the side. And yeah, he goes for quite a ride there.
Oh man, that car is just like a little bouncy ball at this point. And the 22 of Lowry just did not help that situation at all, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time for Joshua Adams. But unfortunately, that is going to end his night, which is rough. Joshua Adams doing a really good job here at Dover, and that's going to put him in 17th position currently. So Dover is now claimed, 10 victims? Yeah, about 8 victims now.
Plenty more out there with damage as well. So yeah, I mean, this is about what we expected for Dover. I actually expected more cautions than what we've seen so far. So a good job by these guys, especially on the restarts. These restarts have been very clean overall. But yeah, once you get a little bit of a pack going like that, it's only a matter of time. So everybody watching, us up here in the broadcast booth, we could see that wreck coming from a mile away. It was only a matter of time.
Yeah, that's why I kept the camera on the guys, because when you get racy like that and the amount of contact between the 63 of Steinmiller and the 22 of Lowry, it was just a matter of time that something was going to happen. But now these guys are going to start on the inside of each other here. Or Steinmiller on the next row. Sorry, Steinmiller is actually on the next row of Kenny. Be interesting to see if there's any bad blood there, because again, Steinmiller, sorry, brain fart there for a second. Steinmiller has been very racy all night, and up front, a good portion of this race has a very fast car. So we'll have to see. I doubt, he's going to be able to keep it together with the amount of damage he has, but who knows what can happen in these last few laps.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, a top 5 finish could be the difference between avoiding a wreck and being involved in it. So yeah, you definitely never know what can happen here. I mean, even Brian Mercurio, as dominating as he has been, there's no guarantee. You never know what can happen. So this is going to be an interesting 15 laps here.
And I saw some guys, look like there were some guys that came to pit road, but obviously the leaders here staying out. Scott Crump now up to 3rd place, so top 3 Stay Tuned sports cars up there, and it's going to be interesting to see if Brian Smith can get anything done on Crump to take that position away from him.
Yeah, and Dylan Thomas got off to a really good start after the actual restart. Had a really good turn 3 on that first lap, and he is trying his best to put the pressure on Brian Mercurio. Don't know if it's going to pay off or not, but a good battle for the lead within a couple of car lengths of him.
And just as you say that, yellow flag comes out again. I was actually going to say that Daniel Bowdler in the 6 nailed the outside wall coming off the backstretch, but that was not the cause of the caution. I do believe somebody else.
Yeah, take a look at the 25 of Timothy Latham, who is, we mentioned it earlier, he is subbing in this race. He was the unfortunate victim there. It was the 4 car well, in iRacing, he's car number 27, but you're going to see him as the 4 car there. Yeah, just hit the wall, came down, got into him, and just nowhere to go.
So Timothy, another one who's been up front for the majority of the race too, was all the way back near the back of the pack off that last restart. Was it the 4? You said it was the 4 that got into him?
Yeah, he's technically car number 27
Okay.
in the entries, Thomas Rutherford, but yeah, we're seeing him on screen as car number 4.
Run on board with the 4 of Rutherford here. Take a look. He just gets into the wall, and just unfortunately the 25 of Latham just happened to be the unfortunate one that paid the price on that. Just a lot of racing going on there, hard racing. The 4 has a ton of damage as well too, so that's unfortunate for him. Now involved in another incident, keeping him a lap down, but I don't know. Timothy Latham still on pit road.
And speaking of pit road, Nick Massey just came out of the pits. That was his 14th pit stop of the night.
Wow. I don't know if he's trying to break a record or what's going on there, but 14 pit stops is...
He doesn't have any more damage than what he had earlier when we were mentioning him. So I don't know. I don't know if he's just getting up to get something to drink each caution or what. But
I wonder
yeah,
if he's trying to like maybe like check his internet issues, because I mean he's been blinking the whole race.
Yeah, but I mean we saw him up there. You know, you mentioned it on one of the restarts. I believe he restarted 5th. So I don't know. It's just not sure what his strategy is there with all those pit stops.
I'm not sure either, but imagine him winning the race after 14 pit stops. That would be impressive, actually. There was one race I remember doing. We had a similar guy doing the same thing for whatever reason. The dude just loved the pits. Literally doing the same thing Nick Massey is doing here tonight. Just coming down, topping off, and then driving away. Never got damaged or anything else like that. Obviously, in Massey's case, he has damage, but wasn't repairing damage. Just honestly liked coming down pit road, and the guy ended up finishing like the top 3.
Yeah, I mean, when it pays off, it pays off. Just you never know. Never know what a person's strategy is, especially in a league race like this. So, yeah, I mean, he's not starting far off. I mean, he's in 11th currently. You know, has a chance for a top 10, maybe even a top 5 finish. I don't know if his connection is going to allow that. You know, it's not just the people around you that have a hard time when you have connection issues. Usually when your car disappears from everybody else, you're not seeing their cars either. So it's scary, not just for them, but it's scary for you as well, because you don't know where you're going to reappear, or where those other cars are going to reappear on your screen either. So it's definitely not easy being the one with those connection issues.
This restart is actually going to be quite interesting as well too, because I'm looking at the stints for some of these drivers, in the top 4 is actually up to 14 and 15 laps on these tires, whereas someone like Jake Roel and even like Kenny Lowry and those guys only about 8 to 9 laps in. So not a huge difference, but that little amount of newer tires, so to speak, could actually play off in a 10-lap shootout here. So we'll have to keep an eye on, see if Jake Roel actually is able to do something here on this restart.
And you see who's restarting in 3rd. We haven't talked about him much because of those connection issues, but Scott Crump, we could see if he has anything for Brian Mercurio in these last couple of laps.
Saw some guys getting racy back here. David Duke in the number 5, almost making contact with Steinmiller, who's dropping all the way back to 11th now after that last incident. Scott Crump now being battled by the 78 of Brian Smith coming out of turn 4, able to clear him there. And now Dylan Thomas gonna try and make something happen here on his teammate Brian Mercurio to see if he can hold it But it's
Man,
nice seeing.
Brian Smith right on the rear end of Scott Crump. This could be, got into the back of him, but they're able to keep it together. But man, almost had an incident there.
Yeah, and these guys, obviously 8 laps to go, getting really racy here. Scott Crump wanting to win his first race here, second win for Stay Tuned Sports if he can get it done. But even then, Brian Mercurio and Dylan Thomas, any one of the top 3, if they could take this.
He's going, gets into the back of him again. They're able to keep it together again somehow. But man, Scott Crump is pretty upset. Got to be pretty upset with Brian Smith right now. He keeps getting into the back of him. And Jake Rowell is actually in 4th currently, but he is coming and going as far as his connection issues
I just noticed that too. I was like, there was a massive gap between him and Scott Crump, so I was confused, and then he just appears out of nowhere. So Jake Rowell now to 4th with the somewhat newer tires, definitely 6 laps newer than Scott Crump, so you might actually gain on Scott here. But the 78, Brian Smith, Jack Rowell, and the 19 are actually teammates, so I'm sure they're going to keep it clean and try to track down Scott Crump. Back up front, though, Dylan Thomas still pretty much close enough to Brian Mercurio. If Brian makes just the slightest the slightest slide out of one of these turns, it could definitely open the door for Thomas.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if you're Dylan Thomas. I mean, you know, your teammates gotten a win already. I mean, you'd love to have one for yourself, but at the same time, you don't want to push him out of the way in order to do that. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with Brian as long as a mistake isn't made. But you never know. It looks like Scott.
And just like that, Scott Crump just getting manhandled by Jake Rowell. And 78 is also involved in that, Brian Smith. So it looks like the striker teammates not holding it well. Not sure what's going on with them and Scott Crump, but man, they just absolutely love the back bumper of Scott's car.
Yeah, and Scott Crump just said in the voice chat, "I just got dumped." So he certainly did not appreciate that. And I believe, so Scott Crump was one of only 4 cars out there with the older tires, going on 23 laps now with those tires. So you wonder if that played a factor. And it was the 78. Now he has those same amount of tires as well, almost 23 laps worth. So that had nothing to do with it. Just 2 cars battling for position right there. The 78. Yeah, the 78 just tried to kind of dive bomb him there. And not clean racing right there.
No, the 78 definitely sent that one into the turn and collected Scott Crump there, and then also collected his own teammate, the 19 of Jake Rowell, as we'll see here on a different angle. Going off the backstretch, he just sends it. Scott Crump going around, and then right here gets down to the apron and shoots back up, and Rowell just nowhere to go. That's unfortunate. Nick Massey. I think Nick Massey pulling a Back to the Future move might have saved him from that incident. Because Nick Massey literally disappeared, went through the 78, and then reappeared on the other side. There's some witchcraftery going on here. We're going to have to check that car out of Nick Massey.
And I was about to say that the one that might have a good advantage right now is the 19 of Jake Rowell, who's going to restart 3rd. But then I saw the front end of his car. I don't think he's going to be able to keep up to speed with those top 2.
And he's just blew an engine.
His motor just blew. Oh my goodness.
Just blew an engine as we're talking about it. It's like the commentator curse tonight is really strong. We're talking about tires people are sliding all over the place. Now we're talking about Jake Rowell's front end, and all of a sudden he blows an engine.
Yep,
Ooh,
that is a tough one. I don't
think there's no way he's gonna make it all the way back around.
No, he is just coasting right now.
And it's going to put Kenny Lowry up into third. So again, the top three. This is an even better position, even with Crump all the way back in seventh. This is a huge advantage for Stay Tuned Sports Team. Points-wise, they will definitely overtake Stryker, only because the fact that we only have one guy. Actually, we did have one guy. It was Jake Roel. That was part of that team. Is now out of the race. Dean Brummett's fill-in is also, I think he's out of the race. No, he's actually in 15th, but 12 laps down. That's not going to do much. Jacob Smith is currently sitting. Actually, Jacob Smith is out of the race as well, too. It looks like he's over in 20th, 64 laps down. So yeah, Stryker coming in the last 2 laps with the most points, and I think Stay Tuned Sports, if they keep it like it is and just keep it clean, will definitely take that position over after tonight.
Well, believe it or not, Jacob Smith is actually on the track right now. He is 64 laps down, but Greg Olenek is in 19th, just above him, 62 laps down. So Jacob Smith is actually, I believe he's going to be able to make up one position. I mean, it's 19th versus 20th, so not a huge difference there, but hey, one more position, so it does pay off to get back in the race, even though you're all those laps down, for that one position. But one thing that's interesting is
smoking back there.
Yeah, he's been smoking. That's Brian Smith, who was the one who got into Scott Crump. He is choosing to stay out there and finish this race smoking as bad as he is. I'm not sure that race control's crazy about that right now, but I guess why not if the car's still.
There's no way he's going to get a restart here. That thing is going to blow as soon as the green flag comes down. Oh, man. Craziness going on here. But Brian Mercurio, Dylan Thomas, Kenny Lowry bringing it to the green flag. Of course, Brian getting a huge restart at like he has been the whole race.
Yeah, and Kenny Lowry is going to be the one to keep an eye on here. Third, he has the newer tires, but not by very much. I don't think he's going to be able to get up there in time.
And Joseph Causey actually snuck his way up there. He's up in 4th. I just now realized that. That's great for him, having trouble all night. But final lap here, we got Dylan Thomas and Brian Mercurio, Stay Tuned Sports Team, both racing each other. And of course, there he is, the 78 on the bottom side there. You saw him, blown engine, and coming off of turn 4. Going to be back-to-back Atlanta and now Dover. Brian Mercurio on the 41 finishing it strong, and his 2 teammates, Dylan Thomas and Kenny Lowry, finished 2nd and 3rd. So Stay Tuned Sports is about to get a lot of shout-outs.
And by the way, Joseph Causey with the 4th place. Look who finished 5th. Nick Massey. Had those connection issues, but he came into pit. That last caution had the newest tires on the track, and it did pay off. He ends up with a top 5 here today at Dover.
Ooh, the 63. I think we might have some drama. Hank Steinmiller over there rubbing the back end of the 22 of Kenny Lowry. Obviously not happy with the results early on in the race, but you're going to see the Stay Tuned Sports Team up front. They might do like a little 4-way celebration here, not 100% sure, but stick around. We are going to have some interviews lined up. Scott Crump just sends it into the wall. Oh man, what a crazy finish in general, honestly.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit more drama. The 25 car of Timothy Latham, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but he bumped the back of Brandon Browning, technically the 23 car, and I believe he said how Tony Stewart choose. So some little bit of drama there to end this race, but overall a good one. Actually, there were a few less cautions than I thought there would be. Just very clean restarts. I'll give these guys a lot of credit. They showed a lot of patience at the restarts. Once they kind of started getting the tires a little worn out was when we were seeing most of these cautions. But overall, a very entertaining race, and just a great win for Mercurio.
Absolutely, back to back, and we're gonna get everything situated here with interviews. I'm gonna start bringing some guys in just a bit, but Dover's actually not too bad. I mean, I love racing Dover. I mean, I raced it in the truck series, and it's a ton of fun in the truck series. It's even more fun in the truck series, in my opinion, just how loose it is off of turn 2 in general. But I mean, once the guys started figuring out how the track was going, they had some good long runs there, a lot longer than I thought they would be.
Yeah, and Scott Crump and Brian Smith, I believe, yeah, Brian Smith, continuing to talk about it in the voice chat. It's pretty casual, they're not right on each other's throats or anything like that. But yeah, just Brian Smith is saying that Crump blocked him. Crump is saying it wasn't blocking; it was just trying to get into the corner. So it is what it is. It's a racing incident, but yeah, definitely some frustration for a lot of these guys as this 4-race season has just one race left in it. So a lot was at stake here today.
Absolutely, and start to get some guys piled in here real quick. Give us just a second here. Go ahead and bring in Kenny. Try to bring him down here. There we go. So, Kenny, you got a copy?
I sure do.
Well, you finished third, man. The top 3 with your teammates there. I know you're kind of in some drama with some drivers. Looks like you got a little tap there at the end from Steinmiller. Kind of walk us through your night, through your eyes.
I'm definitely lucky to be here. I think I was good on the long run, but I definitely got tangled up with some guys. Maybe I have some explaining to. I haven't really seen the replay. I was actually just trying to look at the one with Gerald there. I know he was probably the most pissed, but I mean, in my view, I didn't seem like I came up, but he said I did. I haven't seen the replay. Same thing with Steinmiller. I came up just a little bit, I think. Or obviously I did, and got into him, and that sucks. But I've been there so many times on the wrong end of that deal where I can't feel too bad. I mean, I fought back and got third, and it don't happen too much for me. So I'm happy with what happened, and just the way racing is sometimes,
Yeah, absolutely. With Dover being the track that it is, so fast paced and not a whole lot of room, it is tough. But sucking up to that quarter panel is the way to get around most of these guys too. I mean, you're taking the air away from it, so I just don't think they may not just be used to it as well too. But I mean, third place is pretty damn good. I think there was one other incident. I'm not 100% sure, really. The other incident with Steinmiller was more interesting than anything, because y'all doored each other coming into turn 1. It slid him up the track, but then it looked like you slid up the track in front of him and almost like cut his nose off, and then it was just absolute chaos after that.
Yeah, that was me after the incident, the original incident. That was me mainly just trying to hang on because I had cars on the low, someone was trying to get underneath me, and I was just trying to keep it off the wall and being pinched. And I had let off the gas really early into one or three. I can't remember what corner it was, and then it just seemed like it was just bound to happen where I was going to get turned, and it happened on the backstretch. So I know I had another incident with Smith early on in the race, but that was just kind of, he saved it somehow and didn't even touch it. I saw that he spun and kept it going. Yeah, I've had a little few, more than a few run-ins this today, but hey, it's racing. I mean, like I said, I ran Erskine all year and with some of these same guys, and I've been on the wrong end of a lot of deals, and I'm happy that I bounced back. I can't look at the negatives too much. I mean, it is what it is, and I'm happy to be talking to you guys because it don't happen too often.
Absolutely. I know Jimbo is most likely ecstatic now. Top 3 teammates up there as well for Stay Tuned. This is going to be huge point-wise too, is what I was talking to Alan about early on. Y'all are in second place in the driver standings, like a little more than 30 points behind Stryker, which was made up of I do believe it was made up of Dean Brummett, Roel Smith, both Jacob and Brian Smith. So that's going to be a huge advantage for you guys, especially now that the whole team was basically in the top 10. So it's going to make the standings huge. And of course, the replay. There's a replay going on right now of you collecting somebody on the backstretch. But I know while you're here, is there anybody you want to shout out?
Definitely to my teammates, Dylan, Scott, and Brian. We all seem to race pretty well together. Obviously, finished 1, 2, 3 up here. Belly Up Sports for sponsoring us. That was a huge help, and appreciate that a lot. You guys for doing the broadcast, and whether they like me or not right now, these guys are not bad racing with. They probably don't think too much of me right now, but it is fun racing with these guys. And that's about it.
Well, congratulations on third place. I think race number 4 is going to be hell for you, but just go out there, give it all, and who knows what will happen.
You ain't lying there, man. I appreciate that.
No problem. Take care, Kenny.
Yeah, you too.
And Josh, I got to ask you a question. Were you showing the replay as he was?
No,
as he was.
I just picked.
Okay,
I just picked a random spot in the race.
So I'm noticing that the replay screen has been up for a while now. So just letting you know.
Yeah, my bad. Oh man, it's just it's just one of those nights tonight, I guess. But now we got Dylan Thomas here in the 03 car getting it done, second place finish. Dylan, you got a copy?
10-4.
Man, what a race for you. Looked like early or later on there, you had some pretty good runs and almost catching Brian there near the end. What was the strategy for Dover tonight?
It was all about saving tires. I went a little harder on the short runs than he did, and it definitely cost me in the long run, but I was able to hold on to second for the most part. So all in all, a good night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole team's doing well, top 3 for all you guys there. I know you're kind of in some trouble with Atlanta as well, too. So being able to bounce back and get a second place finish, honestly, you can't be too upset with that one. That's going to help out a ton, not only for just individual points, but the team points as well. I don't think you really got into too much trouble. I know you had an incident early on where you basically just Tokyo drift into turn 1 and 2 after I think there was a caution with Gerald Campbell. You did a magnificent job saving that thing, but other than that, I mean, you pretty much stayed out of trouble.
Yeah, compared to the first 2 nights, this was about what I really expected to do here. Talladega, I was pushing somebody into 3 and 4 to the win and got hooked, and Atlanta got caught up early. I'm just glad to stay out of trouble in this one, really.
Well, I know we go to Richmond next week. How well do you do there?
I love this low downforce, high horsepower package that really brings the drivers out. That's where I really make my strides, so I'm really looking forward to that race.
Well, while you're here, do you have any shout-outs you'd like to give out?
I got to thank all the guys over at Stay Tuned Sports for inviting me to run with them, and I guess that's about it. That's all I got over here.
Well, congratulations on second place, man, and Richmond's the last one, so give them hell, and hopefully we can speak to you then.
We'll try to put on a show.
Alrighty, Dylan Thomas there. Not a whole lot of words going on. That man's nice and simple. So we got Brian Mercurio now, back to back. Get him in here real quick. Brian, Josh, and Alan in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, you guys got me?
Yes, sir. So back to back, Atlanta and now Dover. You basically this is almost like deja vu for me, honestly. You dominated in Atlanta, led the most laps there. Kind of the similar story in Dover. So kind of walk us through your night.
Pretty surprised I got the pole. Wasn't really feeling it in practice. It was kind of tough as the session went on because the track got a lot slower. So even trying to put down a hot lap was kind of tough. I knew I'd probably be good on the race. Just if I had to start anywhere outside like the first 2 rows, I was going to be a little worried. But I started on the pole, and once I knew that, I can try to get a gap going to the guys behind me, and then just start setting my own pace. Was a little worried for the most part on the short run. never really felt like I had like the best car on the short run, but probably after about 15 laps, I think you and I could probably tell I was definitely the fastest car there.
Yeah, you definitely put on an absolute clinic at how to put together a long green flag run. It seemed like your strategy, or at least, based on what we were seeing, it seemed like you were a little bit easier on the going into the turns than everybody else. You kind of let the car come up just a little bit, and then we're able to exit the turn a little bit lower, and we're able to get back on the throttle a little bit sooner than everybody else too. Was that kind of what you were trying to do, or did you just just basically figure out what your line is and you just stick to it no matter what else anybody does?
I know the usual line for Dover is to kind of run as low to the bottom or stick as much to the bottom as possible. But I've always felt that if you can give it a little bit of a diamond, that'll help a lot. Just because if you let it wash up in the corner a little bit, um, you're not cranking the wheel, hurting the fronts in the center of the corner, and then by letting it drift up, you can kind of let it naturally point down as you get back on the throttle in the middle of the corner. You can get the nose pointed down, and then just kind of ride on the throttle there and control it from center exit. So just combine all those things together every corner. Um, Dover's such a hard track on tires that it was really all about saving tires there once you started to get, like I said, anywhere past like the lap 10 to 15 marker within a run. So, um, like I said, I wasn't good on the short run. I guess I was just always in that mindset of trying to prepare myself for a longer run. Even if that's 25, 30 laps, that still plays a pretty big factor in here. But I tried to take care of the tires, and I knew that would reward me. And on those few long runs that we got, I think it definitely showed.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the glimpse into the mind of a
Yep.
7370 I rating. I don't know half of what you just said, but I'll take your word for it.
When you talk about diamonds for Dover, that's actually pretty smart that you think like that, because I've raced in the truck series for Stay Tuned Sports. So when we were at Dover, I never even thought of that strategy at all. Like, I look at it as just like any other oval. You want to try and stick to the bottom and take it, but the way that you're already thinking about how Dover's laid out and how you race it is insane to say it and to show it. Because I mean, not only did you get pole and were the fastest basically the race in the longer run, but you yourself said you weren't even comfortable coming in. So it's crazy how all that just changes once you're out on the track.
Yeah, a lot of time. I think my biggest issue is, I never feel like I can go 100% from the green flag dropping, but let me try to get acclimated to the race a little bit, get me even halfway through a fuel run, or even at Dover, 20, 30 laps on your tires really starts to show how it's gonna or how the tires are gonna handle throughout a long run. The biggest thing with this tire is that like you kind of hit this plateau after a certain amount of time. So if you really just understand what the tire is going to do until you get to that plateau where your lap times just kind of start leveling off, you pretty much got an idea of what the car is going to do at any point in the run. So, I'm always just trying to think ahead to the long run. And like I mentioned before, just with the way the track was here and in this setup and the tire just all factored together, it really chews through your tires. So, taking care of the tires as much as you can. You treat the tires well, the track's going to treat you well. It's going to reward you for doing that. So that was pretty much my mindset going through the whole race, and looks like it paid off.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, back to back, and now we're going to Richmond. I asked Dylan how he does there. He kind of likes the faster, low downforce, high horsepower type tracks. How are you feeling going into Richmond?
All right. I'm just not the biggest fan of short tracks in general. I know I could probably get crucified for that, but that's just kind of how my opinion is. They're cool. I like watching the races on them. I've just never found myself particularly good at them or really enjoyed racing them.
Yeah.
Maybe back when I was running on Enter 2003, I enjoyed them more. But we'll see how Richmond is. Back when Road to Pro was there, I did pretty good, so I got that going for me. But otherwise, I'm kind of indifferent on Richmond. I know it's some people's favorite track. I know a lot of people like it, but I'm just kind of
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I used to
Yep.
love short tracks on NR03, but man, it's just a whole different ball game in iRacing.
Yeah, mile and a halves are like my baby. So like any mile and a half's like I will take that on all day. The short tracks are they're fun. It's rough for sure. But I mean, we were looking over the standings earlier on. I didn't know if you were aware of this, but you gained 10 positions coming into tonight's race, and now with another win, that's going to propel you even further. And on top of that, like I was explaining to Lowry and Thomas there, the team as a whole up into the top 10 tonight, and 3 of those 1, 2, and 3. So I think you're actually going to overtake Stryker coming into Richmond. So there's a huge target on Stay Tuned Sports, and there's even bigger target on Kenny Lowry. So y'all might need to protect him going into Richmond.
Yeah, I heard some stuff going on with him. I know Scott got into a little tussle with somebody there towards the end of the race, which is unfortunate because we might have actually been able to finish up 1, 2, 3, 4 there. But we got really good points at halfway and finished the race 1, 2, 3 with myself, Kenny, and Dylan there. So really good for the team, really good for myself. Really good night overall.
Well, while you're here, I know you probably got some shout outs. So if you want to go ahead and give those, now is the time.
I'll give a shout out to Stay Tuned Sports team we're running with here. Great job to everybody they did, or great job to everyone tonight on it. Kenny, Scott, and Dylan. Really fun stuff. You guys for broadcasting here. Belly up for putting on this the league here and the races and everything. It's been fun so far, and looking forward to Richmond.
Well, congratulations, man. Double back-to-backs. Let's see if we can triple it up, and hopefully we can speak with you again next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
There we go. Brian Mercurio. Man, what a way to think about that when it comes to Dover. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I guess you understood more of what he said than I did, because I had never heard of somebody refer to it as a diamond. But yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense when and that's what he meant by, you go in low, you let the car drift up just a little bit in the middle of the turn, and then you go back down low again as you exit the turn, and then you end up to the outside of the track on the straightaway. So that definitely makes sense. And yeah, just put on a clinic both on the track and off the track just now. So I have a lot to learn when it comes to racing.
I'm gonna have to pick his brain for a truck series. I'm gonna have to do
Absolutely.
something there. That'd be fun.
We need to get on with that team or something.
I talked to Jimbo, but big thanks to the Batflip podcast, ran there by Damian Leininger as well. So go ahead and check them out over at Batflip podcasts. If you want your recaps on MLB, some of the biggest news around the league as well too. They drop new episodes every Sunday night over at Apple Podcast and Spotify, so make sure to check them out. Of course, Belly Up Sports and Mike allowing us to broadcast these races. These are fun little races, even though there's only 4 of them and they're going to go by quick. It's definitely the best 4 weeks that we've seen, and if it's anything like tonight here at Dover, Richmond is going to be absolutely insane. So those of you who are still here, you don't want to miss that. We'll be back here again at 9:30 Eastern next Monday for the finale Belly Up Sports series. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you like the channel, subscribe, share it to everybody who's interested in racing, and come check it out. It's going to be huge. But from everyone here, we hope you enjoy